Blessed be everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are talking about the 7 common mistakes that beginner witches make. And let's face it, it's not always beginner witches that make these mistakes. Sometimes practitioners who've been doing this for years make some of these mistakes because we can get complacent, things happen, and sometimes we can get a little bit slack. So this video is for everybody. Before we dive in, my name is Sandra. I'm the author of Crafting Your Wiccan Path. If you want to know more about Wicca and witchcraft, magic, tarot, and shadow work, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. And if you want to know where to start your witchcraft practice, because maybe you are a bit overwhelmed and you can see all of these things that witches do and seem to need to have, and you just don't know what to do, I have a free video. It's called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice, and there's a link in the description field below this video. You can also grab a copy on my website on the homepage or on my freebies tab, which is also on my website. These 7 common mistakes, a number of mistakes that people often make, but these are probably the most common ones. And I'm going to start with the first one, which isn't necessarily the biggest one, but it's definitely something that a lot of new witches struggle with, and that is information overwhelm. Becoming totally overwhelmed by all of the practices, all of the tools, all of the supplies. When do I start? What do I do? How do I do this? And when you become overwhelmed, there can be resistance to actually starting anything and resistance to actually practicing because fear sets in and you don't know what to do. Some people are afraid of making mistakes, doing the wrong thing, and so you may just be there watching videos on witchcraft, but you're not actually starting it or practicing it because of this overwhelm. The first thing to do is to grab that free masterclass that I was talking about at the beginning, how to start your witchcraft practice, because that's going to help you know the things that we do and where you can actually start. So that's a free video on my website, as I said before. But other ways that you can manage your overwhelm is to just remember that things take time. You're not going to learn everything at once, and you don't need everything at once. You don't need to have the 4 main tools of modern day witchcraft. You don't need an athame, you don't need your wand, you don't need the pentacle, you don't need the cup straight away. When I first started, I went to second-hand stores and got those things because I didn't have the money to buy new ones. The new ones weren't available when I first started doing witchcraft. The internet wasn't around then, so that's how ancient I am. And so these things just weren't there, so I had to make do with what I could find. And so I did that. You don't need to have multiple colors of candles in stock. You can work with a white candle, white for everything. It's a standard color. In fact, it's the traditional color that witches would have used back in the day when they didn't have colored candles. The tools, the herbs, you can get them at the supermarket. You don't need to be spending lots of money on herbs. The most important aspect of witchcraft, the most important thing, tool, whatever you want to call it, in witchcraft is actually your imagination. So that's the most important thing. And you already have that. So when you're starting out, you just need to do your reading, do your research, learn from other people, watch lots of different videos on YouTube, find out what resonates with you. Read books, go to the library. That's a great place to go for books. Most libraries have pretty decent books on witchcraft these days, so you don't even need to spend a lot of money on learning this stuff. And really do the research first, and then start to learn, what do I need to do next? And the first thing I like to work with people is to do grounding, is to connect to the earth, to learn how to work with your energy, learn how to work with yourself, basically. You're your first tool to work with. So start with yourself. Go out into nature, feel the connection to the ground beneath your feet. Connect to the wind, connect to the energy of the sun, connect to the water if there's waterways around you, and feel the connection to those elements. And then try a spell or two. A really simple spell. What's something you would like to have in your life? Maybe don't start with something really ambitious. Start with something small, even something that you know is quite likely to manifest, just to get your confidence up when it comes to magic. And just try a few things like that. Another mistake that new witches make is inconsistency with the practice. Now, this isn't just new witches that can go into these periods of time. Often witches who've been practicing for a while can go into inconsistency. Life happens, things get in the way, and we stop practicing. And then we wonder why we're feeling so disconnected from spirit, so disconnected from the god and goddess, disconnected from ourselves, because we've forgotten to connect on a daily basis. When you're practicing the craft, you're practicing more than just doing spells and magic to change the world outside of yourself, in quotation marks. There really is no outside of self. It's more than that. It's a path that you're walking to connect to who you truly are and to the power of you as a human being, as a magical being, and you're wanting to connect. And the way to connect and overcome the obsession with being in the material world and all of the fear and frustration and anger and hardship about being in the physical world is to connect with that spiritual side of yourself, to connect with this higher aspect of yourself, so that you have a connection to go to when you are feeling overwhelmed with life, when you are feeling troubled in life. Your practice, your daily witchcraft practice, is really what grounds you into life. It's what gives you a safety net. It gives you that sense of, I have a connection to something beyond myself. And whatever happens in this material world is simply happening in the material world. I've always got my practice and my connection to spirit, to the goddess, to the god, to come back to. And that's a really important aspect of this work, is to know that you're not actually alone in life and that you're not alone doing these things. You've got lots of helpers out there in spirits and the gods and your own higher self and your own guides. So a consistent practice, whether that's just a daily practice of giving gratitude for the things that you have so that you're raising your vibration, a consistent practice maybe in doing magic so that you get better at spell casting. Doesn't mean you have to cast spells every day, but you might want to focus on what your intentions are for that day and find fun ways to help manifest those intentions. Little tiny things every day can really go towards you feeling connected to your practice. And this is a reminder to all witches, no matter how long we've been practicing, we have to come back to a daily practice and remember that if we are feeling pinched off, if we've let life get in the way, the mundane life get in the way of our connection to spirit, we're going to start feeling pinched off and we're going to start feeling disconnected, and that's when all of the difficulties start. Number 3 is not grounding. Grounding is really important after a ritual. You can ground by eating something or drinking something, but you can also do grounding exercises where you are feeling the weight of the earth beneath you. You're feeling that you have energetic roots that are going down into the ground. There is a letting go of electromagnetic energy when we ground, and that's really important for our health as well, to connect to Mother Earth every day for at least 5 minutes a day. Go out into the ground, into the dirt, into the wet grass. If you're on a beach, preferably the wet sand, and connect to the earth and feel any excess energy that you've got, especially if you are the type of person that tends to get anxious and overwhelmed. A lot of that energy can be up in your head, and when you're grounding yourself, you're bringing it down into the ground. It can help you feel a little bit more balanced and not so overwhelmed and not so anxious. So grounding is really important for our health and also for magic, that connection to the earth. Because when we are raising energy or we're working with energy, we want to get that energy from the environment around us. We don't want to be using our own energy. And when we ground, we can draw that energy up through the ground, and we can also bring that energy in from the energy that's around us through breathing through our pores. So these exercises and getting good at doing these things is really important to do on a daily basis. The next thing is learn to differentiate between your intuition and your fear, because your intuition is really important. So not trusting your intuition is something a lot of new witches do, and sometimes more experienced witches do it as well. Not trusting that intuition, not going with our feeling of this is yes or this is no. And that feeling, that difference between intuition and, say, fear, and letting the head get involved, is that it's a feeling of a quiet yes or a quiet no in the body in general. Whereas fear, for example, is something that you're going to feel in different parts of your body, and it's going to involve some kind of muscle tension. So learn to trust your intuition and practice working with your intuition. Divination, working with tarot cards or oracle cards, are a great way to be able to develop your intuition. Number 5 is skipping protection and cleansing before you do a ritual. It is important to make sure that the space that you're doing your work in is created into a sacred space, which is essentially what you're doing if you're creating a circle, or you're simply cleansing the space and maybe doing some other type of energetic protection work. It makes the space sacred, it raises your energy, and it means that there aren't any other negative effects, both from your own mind and from outside of yourself, coming in to influence your ritual at all. So do make sure that you do some sort of protection or cleansing before you go ahead and do a spell or do a ritual or even a daily practice. A cleansing or making sacred of your space should be a part of your daily practice anyway. Number 6 is comparisonitis. We struggle with this everywhere in all aspects of life, and it's something we have to stop doing. And particularly when you're at the beginning of your witchcraft journey, you don't want to be comparing yourself to other people. You want to do your journey for you at the pace that you do it at. So if things are working for other people, if they're not working for you, that's okay, that's fine, because you may find that you're good at some things that those other people may not be good at. We're not good at everything. And some witches are actually better at divination and seeing things than they might be at creating magic, for example. Other people are great at manifesting and magic and maybe not that great at divination. You've got to struggle with it and learn how to do it. So there's going to be strengths and weaknesses that you have, and some things you're going to have to do more work on to get good at than other things. And that's just part of you being you. So don't go comparing yourself to other people, because your path is your path and you're going to do it the way that you do it and walk it the way that you walk, and your talents and your skills and your weaknesses are going to be unique to you, and that's something that is important for you to learn to acknowledge and accept those things. And if they're weaknesses, you can work on those weaknesses to make them better. Number 7 is not understanding how magic actually works. It doesn't work like it does in the movies or television or in the fairy tales. Magic works mostly from the inside out. It works from your imagination and your emotional feeling. So it's not in the candles. You put your energy into the candle. It's not in the sigil itself. You're creating the sigil. And unless somebody else has put energy into an object, it's not in an object either. It's in you. The magic is in you. And it's your ability to be able to use your imagination to imagine that what it is that you want has already occurred, and having that conviction that it's already occurred. And that means it's already occurred in the astral. Once you have that desire and you put it out there and you're using your imagination to imagine the end result, you've created an astral blueprint for that desire. So it does actually exist. It is actually a thing, and you are actually experiencing it. You're experiencing it on an energetic level. And the whole point of doing that is so you'll experience it on the physical level as well. But first, you have to experience it on that energetic level. So the magic isn't coming from outside of yourself. It's actually something that's coming from within yourself and aligning with what's already out there, because everything is already created. Everything is already there. So it's aligning with it. Your intentions, where you put your attention, is what creates your world. The universe will mirror back to you what it is that you're focusing on. So that's the power is in you. It's not in outside objects. So that's 7 of the most common mistakes that beginner witches make. And also, if any of you who've been practicing for a while recognize that some of those you fall into too at times, particularly the inconsistency side of it, then yeah, it's just a reminder to get consistent and to start practicing again, because this is what brings the joy into your life and makes your life more fulfilling, is the fact that you are connecting to your magic, you are connecting to nature, to the earth, to spirit, to goddess and God, and that is what can bring the joy into your life and all of the good things into your life. So why wouldn't you want to connect with these things? Now, I teach you how to do this in the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. It's a 12-month course. I start you right from the very beginning with the energy work. We work right through to learning to work with some of those tools, creating different types of circles, so mostly a Wiccan circle, but also a daily circle of light that you can have on a daily basis, so you're not having to create a Wiccan circle every day. We also work with magic, so I teach you about magic, particularly candle magic, and also the Sabbats, how we work with the seasons of the year by using those seasons to connect us once again to ourselves and to how the earth does things, the reality of nature. And the reality of nature is quite an eye-opener, really, because nature isn't all fluffy bunnies and unicorns all of the time. She's also spiders and snakes, and we learn to work with the polarity, and we learn to work with the goddess and God energy, and that's what the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy is all about. It's about helping you connect to your craft, to yourself, and to your power as a witch. So there's a link in the description field below this video for how you can access that course, and it's also on my website mysterywitchschool.com on my homepage, and you can also find it on my courses page on that website as well. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. I will see you on the next video. Blessed be.